Yo, what's going on, everyone? Hot off the press, there is a new AI model called DeepSeek that just hit. It is evidently a Chinese manufactured AI model that is competing with some of the top models in the world, particularly OpenAI and their ChatGPT. Hello, I am an AI programmer. I built my first AI model from scratch back in 2017 and fell in love with it ever since. I don't necessarily program AI from scratch as much as I used to anymore, just because there's so much money and research going in, it's hard to compete. But I do dabble in doing some AI programming on the floor from time to time, and I love staying up to date with all the latest and greatest AI innovations and where the industry is going. And I want to comment on my current understanding of what's happening. So, as I just explained to you, there's a new AI model out of China, and it has seemed to evaporate a lot of stock off of NVIDIA valuation. And I've just had my ear to the ground all day today, just kind of absorbing all this information, learning as much as I can about DeepSeek. And here's my perspective. First of all, I must say, if I have to listen to one more finance bro talk about the need for open source models, I am going to off myself. Oh my God. I love how all of a sudden, because an open source model causes valuation to evaporate, the finance bros are like, those anchovies from SpongeBob? Mine. That's all the finance bros. Open source, money. God, please help me. Anyways, so there's this talking point that I've been trying to find and confirm, which is DeepSeek used other LLMs to train its model. I've not been able to find a credible source that is able to back this up, and I think largely the reason is because it's out of China and it's probably next to impossible to confirm something like that. But there's a lot of people who are running with this, and I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm just saying I can't find a credible source that does confirm that. I wouldn't be surprised though if that is. But the current narrative is that DeepSeek is using other AI models to train its model, and by doing that, they're able to shortcut a lot of the costs and infrastructure to make their model. Now, one thing I want to really dig into really fast is that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, and they're all focused on this $6 million to train the model that can compete with ChatGPT. But I looked into it and it's a little disingenuous because it seems they're only pointing to their recent model was built with $6 million, but their previous model was built with 5.5 million, and who knows the other models before that, or at least I don't know. And so it seems a little disingenuous on the story that's being told. For example, if we exclude all the training costs before ChatGPT 4.0, which is their latest model, how much do you think it cost them to train that? Is it 10 million? Is it 5 million? Is it 2 million? Surely it's not the entire cost that it is costed them to build the model up to that point, if we're granting them the ability to not count the prior costs. Unfortunately, OpenAI is pretty private about their practices, so I don't think that we'll know unless they find that to be an important marketing point in the next few days. They'll let us know. But also, even if they did use other LLMs to shortcut a lot of the costs to make their current model, again, OpenAI is pretty private about their practices. It's very possible that they have been doing this for a while. They just don't want to share it with the world because they are an American company and they want to be proprietary, etc., etc. But if that is the case, I can imagine that must really suck because now all of a sudden everyone is crediting China with being innovators with the LLM space, trying something new and bold and doing something that the American companies haven't done before. Again, if that's true or not, we don't know. A lot of these companies do their training in the dark. But one place that I'm stuck at is if they did used other LLMs to train their LLM, is that even a bad thing? By the way, that practice is called distillation. And where I'm kind of conflicted is that they did release their model open source, and the data at the ground level of all these LLMs don't really belong to any one specific person, right? It's like the corpus of the entire internet, which is like a shared data set amongst the world. So for them to take the output of the process to then create an open source, I don't know. I'm kind of okay with that. I don't know. I'm gonna think on that some more. I love capitalism, but I'm kind of okay with that. I don't think that's a big deal. Anywho, the final thing I want to touch on is the incentives behind all of this. Now, this is information that's coming out of China, and I've been taught my entire life to not trust China because China doesn't like the US doesn't like China. That part, I don't know where I really land on that. I mean, I can't like point to one very prominent thing in my lifetime where I'm like, yeah, China definitely lied about that to the United States. I'm not sure how much I am consuming propaganda when it comes to that. However, I do find it important for me to be a bit weary about potential propaganda coming out of China. Very specifically, Joe Biden, when he was president, put AI chip restrictions on other countries. That includes China. The idea was that they want the United States to be leading in artificial intelligence. Therefore, companies like NVIDIA, for example, could not distribute their powerful GPUs and chips to other countries so that the US can stay number one in artificial intelligence. And so, part of me wonders some of the information that's coming out about DeepSeek is true. Could it potentially be some sort of retribution? Look what we were able to accomplish. The United States tried to hinder us, and we did this thing and didn't even need them. And we did it for far cheaper than they could even imagine. Look at us. It's possible that they're lying about the cost of all this and if they actually use state-of-the-art NVIDIA GPUs. I've seen some reports that they do have their hands on some of them, but not as many. Some reports that their last model was trained on the older. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how much I really care, to be honest. The fact of the matter is that this model is out. It's public. You can go play with it right now. I looked at the API costs. The API costs are incredibly low. I can't speak to the quality of it yet. I haven't quite played with it. It just came out a few hours ago, I just got the announcement about it. I just learned about it. I think the last thing that I want to comment on this whole debacle is, if I'm being honest, I find this little AI race to be a little silly. If you think back to all of the other races before the 21st century, you had the atomic race, right? The nuclear race, which when it comes to measuring success, it's really easy. Explosion is bigger than the last time. Okay, that's progress. My explosion is bigger than your explosion. Obviously, I'm winning. The space race. My rocket reached the stratosphere. Oh yeah, well my rocket reached orbit. Oh yeah, well my rocket went to the moon and back. Really easy, clear, apparent measurement. But then we get to the AI race, and I don't know what we're measuring. It seems at the moment we're measuring the cost to make LLMs to be as small as possible. In this ideal world, the winner of this race is whoever can make an LLM for $1. But there's so many other variables that goes into an LLM than just the costs it makes to make, right? There's performance, but most importantly, there's how it's planned to be used. In the nuclear race, we're planning to use the nukes against any country that dare to fuck with us. Not just the United States, any country. That was the whole point of the race. In the space race, the plan was to be able to get to the moon and discover whatever rare minerals, or maybe set up a moon base, be the first to do something like that. Actually, I don't know. That might actually be kind of similar to the AI race. Because the point that I'm getting at here is that we build these LLMs for cheap, and then what? Point to me a product successfully uses LLMs and it's like its own standalone business. Uses it as a tool. We're not there yet. And I think it's near impossible for us not to get there, but it's hard to envision what that looks like right now. Obviously, it would already exist if it was easy. And so there's this bit that I believe we're racing towards this huge unknown gamble, if it's even going to pay off or not. Like, LLMs are great. They're amazing. Don't get me wrong. I use them every single day. But as a tool to get us to the next age, at least in its current form, I don't know. I'm not anti-innovation. Keep going forward, but it is a question that I have. And that's where I'm going to leave it. If I learn any more new information, I might make a new video about it. But that's currently where we're at with it. And I'll see you tomorrow.